I was once terrified of stop-motion animation. It wasn't necessarily the subject matter of those animations, nor was it any particular style. Between those old Christmas specials to movies like Chicken Run, all of them just made my skin crawl. But for some reason, all of that had changed when I saw the movie Coraline, which might seem strange, yes, given the subject matter of the movie, but the film centers around an 11-year-old girl named Coraline who just recently moved into a new home. Despite her efforts to adapt to this new situation, everything around her is just so colorless and dreary. It also doesn't help that her neighbors are very strange, and both of her parents are far too busy with moving and work to be with her during this time. So, coincidentally, while Coraline is at her most vulnerable, she encounters a doorway leading to another world, giving her a new family, better versions of her neighbors, in a world full of color and amazement. And if it wasn't obvious already, this is a trap. Shortly after this, the movie starts to take a very, very dark turn, as Coraline's other mother wants to sew buttons into her eyes. And when Coraline starts to reject this fantasy world made just for her, everything starts to get very twisted. And the rest of the film follows her quest to escape this nightmare, save her parents, and to help the victims still trapped in that world. On the surface, this should be anything else but comforting. After all, the movie starts out very dull and bleak, and we only get a little bit of color before everything goes very wrong. So, against all of that, why is Coraline such a comfort film? Well, I guess the first thing that should come to your mind is the aesthetic. This film is such a wonderful style to it, which I'd argue vastly overshadows that of the original story's artwork. Even at its dullest, the film has such a great atmosphere to it, all thanks to the incredible amount of detail in the set pieces. It's no exaggeration to say that watching these environments get put together feels like you're being whisked away to another world. And this attention to detail doesn't only extend to the scenery. There are an abundance of small touches that you could easily miss on each viewing. This level of crafty visual storytelling just makes the whole experience so much more wonderful. Like, for instance, the character of Mr. Babinsky. When you first look at him, your attention will be drawn to his lanky proportions and his bluish skin, which, even in a world of such strange characters, does stand out. But what stands out to me even more is this particular badge on his chest. This badge actually has real-world correlations. This is the badge given to the Chernobyl liquidators, the brave people who risked their lives to clean up the aftermath of a nuclear meltdown. This might explain why Mr. Babinsky has such a unique appearance compared to the rest of the characters we see. And it's just one of many details that can be found watching the movie. This level of care put in by the animators really helped me get very invested in the film. But that isn't to say other stop-motion films didn't put in the same amount of effort as Coraline. So that alone won't be the reason why this film helped me conquer my fears of the subject. The other thing that played a role in helping me was the movie's story, specifically the hero's journey and how it's portrayed. At the start of the film, the main character really isn't the best. Coraline is portrayed as being rather bratty and annoying, being very judgmental of others and unforgiving towards her parents. Because of this, she easily falls in love with this new world created by her other mother. This world has everyone acting exactly how she wants them to the point that she's glad one of the kids she found annoying, Wybie, is completely unable to speak, which she finds to be an improvement. But once Coraline gets cold feet about fulfilling a small obligation like, letting the other mother sew buttons into her eyes, this starts to have some very negative consequences, like endangering the lives of just about everybody she knows. So even when things are getting very dark, the film manages to comfort you through it, because nearly every character is out to help Coraline. The strange neighbors all give Coraline advice or guidance through the situation. There's a black cat that helps her through the other world. And even the other versions of her father and Wybie care about her and want her to make it through this horrible event. Sounds good. This ending, mixed with these characters, invoked such a positive reaction out of me that it completely cured me of any icks I had about stop-motion animation. Of course, there are many other great aspects about this film, such as a phenomenal soundtrack. But if you haven't seen it already, I think it'd be best for you to experience the film yourselves. And if you haven't seen it, how could I possibly sell it to you any more than this? So, yeah, okay, this wasn't much of a review. Rather, it was just kind of me going into detail about how this movie cured a phobia of mine. But with an endorsement like that, it's no surprise to hear that I hold this movie in such a very high regard. And I definitely recommend checking it out, whether it's a first viewing or even a rewatch. And with that, we thank you for watching yet another Nitro Reviews. Be sure to subscribe as that helps support the content we make, and we'll see you in the next review.